Okay, I'm an architect in Los Angeles. I have my own firm. We work with developers. We do everything from single-family homes to museum work. Let me just.
Land use committee.
I'm on a land use committee. I chair the land use committee at Sherman Oaks Neighborhood Council, and I am the founder and chair of the Vision for Sherman Oaks Committee. Now, as an architect, I draw things to understand them. So we did these diagrams so we could understand what the impact is of both SB 9 and SB 10. We started with a typical lot in the flat part of Sherman Oaks, and we looked at it, how does SB 9 impact a single family property in Los Angeles based on Los Angeles's ordinances. So what you see here is a typical lot. There's a street at the top of this drawing. This lot happens to be 7,500 square feet. There'll be a lot of numbers in this presentation. I'm going to move through it rather quickly, but if anybody wants me to pay more attention to numbers, I can come back later. But in Los Angeles, we have 5-foot side yard setbacks and 15-foot rear yard setbacks, and allowable buildable on this site would be, for a house, about 3,375 square feet. Now, SB 9 is a state law that will override all local zoning. Here, currently, this is demonstrated that current law in California allows for an ADU and a junior ADU on all residential properties. Again, on this 7,500 square foot lot that will allow 3,375 square feet, we can put a junior ADU where the garage used to be, but we cannot add the 1,200 square foot ADU that's allowed by law. We can only get a 625 square foot ADU. So what happens now with SB 9, there is no limit to the building size. The limits are based on only a 4-foot side yard and 4-foot rear yard. SB 9 also allows existing homes to become a duplex by just taking off 25% of their exterior wall. So in this diagram, the blue is the existing house. We cut off the one wall on it and made everything 2 stories. So now you have 2-story houses of the same size of the original. We have an ADU, junior ADU in the back, and we have a 1,200 square foot ADU in the rear. Okay, all of this is now will be allowed by SB 9. Okay, this is a quote straight from the bill itself. A local government may require a setback up to 4 feet from the side and rear lot lines. So on this site, we are now showing 7,100 square feet of building and 4 units, where previously we had a 2,750 square foot house. SB 9 also allows a lot split. That means you can take any one of these properties, any residential property in California, and split it so both parcels are equal in size. In this diagram, we split it right down the middle from the street, going perpendicular to the street and giving 2 lots of equal size. Again, we only have the limit to building is the 4-foot side and rear setbacks. So here you can see that we have, we're allowed to do duplexes, an ADU and a junior ADU, and we have 4 units or 8 units where one house used to be. In SB 9, it states that objective zoning ordinances, objective subdivision standards, and objective design review standards still are maintained if both the developer and the city agencies can understand them before the project goes in for approval. So you look at this and you say, aha, in Los Angeles, our mentionization ordinances still hold. But then the next page in SB 9 has this one sentence, which is the critical understanding of the impact of SB 9. A local agency shall not impose objective zoning standards, objective design, subdivision standards, and objective design review standards that would have the effect of physically precluding the construction of 2 units on either of the resulting parcels. This is very important. There's no definition of what a unit size is. So here, again, 11,800 square feet, 8 units, used to be just one house on this property. There's no limitation to the size except for maybe the height, your current zoning. The houses don't need to be duplexes. You just have to do 2 units per property. So here, we're just showing that they're not duplexes, now 2,400 square foot houses, an ADU and a junior ADU. The law actually states that local jurisdiction may not allow an ADU. A junior ADU has to be allowed, but an ADU does not have to be allowed. So you might have 4 units per property on a split lot, which give you 8 where it used to be 1 house, or it may only be allowed to have 3, which give you 6 where it used to be 1 house. But the square footage is the same. Now, this is a diagram where we look at cutting it in what would basically be the east-west direction on this diagram. Again, 2 equal lots, and to keep the top lot equal, we have an access easement that goes and connects to the back property. And this is all, again, part of the law. It's an easement, it's not a right-of-way. So it maintains these as being equal properties, even though you have an easement to the back. This diagram, we also wanted to show that there's a lot of variations here. So one developer might come in, split the lot, have 2 rentable duplexes up front, a small ADU in the back, and a huge 5,000 square foot house in the rear lot. Again, as long as I can do 2 units on a property, I can do anything I want. And so here, the 2 units are small ADU, junior ADU, and a big house. So how does this impact our neighborhoods? We took our little typical house, we flipped it back and forth. We have showing a street that has 10 single-family homes on it today. We have 5-foot side yard setbacks, even though the 15-foot rear yard setbacks. In practice, our rear yards are large, enabling outdoor living, which is certainly a great amenity in California year-round. So now a developer has come in, purchased one of these, and put their version of how they want to subdivide it and take advantage of SB 9. In SB 9, the law states that one developer cannot subdivide any adjacent lot to what they have subdivided previously. So the same developer then bought a lot a couple of houses down and put the exact same subdivision on that. So he's having 2 duplexes on each property and a junior ADU. He bought a property across this, or she bought a property across the way and did an identical development. Another developer bought the adjacent property and put their version of how they wanted to make a profit out of SB 9. Somebody came along and bought another property, and they put in their version of how they want to develop based on SB 9. Please note the loss of backyards. So where we have typically a nice, generous backyard, now you have only 4 feet, okay? What's lost also are our trees, both in the rear yard. Obviously, there's no rear yard, so no rear yard trees. And there's no permeable surface to help replenish our groundwater. In the front, what's not shown here are driveways. And so you have no front yard left either for trees. There's no required infrastructure improvements either. The capacity of the existing water, electricity, gas, and sewer services cannot handle this new demand. If you stop and think about our water and our gas and our sewers, they're in the streets. The law specifically says that you cannot make the developer pay for any infrastructure improvements. Somehow, to get all this density fed with water and sewer services, you'd have to rip up the streets, replace the pipes, and the developers do not have to pay a penny for that. Also, there's minimal off-street parking required in SB 9. And if you look at this diagram, where you have driveways for all these houses, there's no street left to park cars. SB 9 is an environmental disaster. It is a social disaster that will destroy our communities. This trickle-down theory will not produce equitable, affordable housing. And if you see in this diagram, this simple diagram that looked at a block that had 10 houses on it. Those 10 households on this block are now potentially 31 households. No more single-family zoning, no environmental review, no transparency. There's no outreach, so there's no public awareness, and there's no public vote. There's no affordable units mandated in SB 9. Yet, the last paragraph in the bill states, the legislature finds and declares that ensuring the adequate production of affordable housing is a matter of statewide concern and is not a municipal affair, as that term is used in Section 5 of Article 11 of the California Constitution. Therefore, this section applies to all cities, including charter cities. So now let's look quickly at SB 10. SB 10 allows a 10-unit apartment building on any residential property in a transit-rich or job-rich area. So again, this is our diagram of our 7,500 square foot lot, the streets at the top. We're going to assume for our diagram, we still have the 5-foot side yard and 50-foot rear yard, because that's not mentioned in SB 10. And to get a layout that allows us to have 10 units on this larger than typical lot, it takes 4 stories or a 45-foot high building. Okay, this is the quote from the bill itself, that you have up to 10 units of residential density per parcel. The height would be specified by local government in the ordinance that allows us if a parcel is located in one of the following: transit-rich. Transit-rich is based on the time of certain bus routes near to this parcel. We hate to tie housing to transit because we want transit to be really effective. And if you tie housing to transit, then people are going to fight against having the transit routes that you need to have a really effective system, which in Los Angeles we do not have. Job-rich is a very unique definition. And here is from the bill. It states that it can be rich in jobs or would enable a shorter commute to where your work is. Every community in California is something you can drive through to get to work. So therefore, every community in California is job rich. You can't make this stuff up. Okay, now again, no affordable units are required. Let's look at how this impacts our street. This is a street when we last visited, where it has all these different SB 9 developments. Let's add an apartment house, and it's no infrastructure improvements are required, minimal off-street parking for this, and there's a total loss of a single-family neighborhood. But let's go ahead and put 2 more of these 4-story apartments looming over everything. And you might say to yourself, why would a developer really want to put an apartment house, a 10-unit apartment house, in the middle of a single-family neighborhood? Well, if you stop and think about it, and I do mixed-use projects, if you were going to build this on a major commercial area or just a commercial site, well, you have entitlements to go through. You have demands to do your off-street improvements, your infrastructure improvements. You have all kinds of qualifications. Here is a by-right project. If SB 10 passes, it's a by-right project to come in with no regulations, no design review, no infrastructure improvement to build a 10-unit apartment. So here on this one block, the developer can come in, build 30 units with no restrictions at all, minimal parking, as opposed to building in a commercial zone where they'd have to comply with much more stringent zoning. So here now we're going from our 10 households originally to a block that is now potentially in this diagram, 61 households. Again, no area is exempt. Not Sherman Oaks, not Porter Ranch, not Silver Lake, not Pasadena, not San Dimas, no place in California. Not gated communities, not residential estates, not hillsides, not canyons. No more single-family neighborhoods. Again, the same paragraph at the end of this bill as at the end of the other bill that states that this affordable housing is a matter of statewide concern, yet there's no mandated affordable housing in these apartment houses. But here you go in, scot-free, build whatever you want in 10 units, no criteria, and you don't even have to do any affordable units. This is a terrible scam. We cannot let the legislators and the governor do this. We have plenty of underutilized capacity in our commercial zones to meet our housing needs without destroying our single-family neighborhoods. A simple duplex bill will annihilate every single-family neighborhood in California. I'm going to stop sharing, and Maria's back.
So our fight really for homeowners is to understand what these bills truly do. So as we grew organically in the last week, we've brought in 15 new homeowners associations. They in turn introduce us to others, and we are now moving north and moving south because we have a lot of LA County covered. So again, my email address is on our, I think we had it on our screen. It's, if you reach out to me, if you have a homeowners group, I prefer dealing with homeowner groups because they in turn deal with all their organizational members, and it makes it a lot easier to just bring information to our groups, and then they disseminate it to all their hundreds and thousands of members. So again, our fight is disinformation. We need to make everybody totally aware of what these bills will do, and then I guess everybody decides on whether they want them or not. But I think that kind of tells you what we've done, and we're very proud of the people that have joined us. They're smart people. Everybody's sharing information, and we're keeping everybody in the loop on how to keep moving forward so that when we aim at this legislation, we all aim at the same time and with a whole lot of power. So that's it, Jill. I hope I've covered everything you needed me to cover.